Let me begin apologizing for not being able to participate in this 5th ASEAN Chief Justice Roundtable on Environment. This is a program of the Asian Development Bank that I am very fond of because the impact in Asia, but also globally, is quite impressive. So, congratulations to the organizers, especially to Chief Justice, President of the Supreme Court, Deet Munthi. Also, I would like to congratulate the Asian Development Bank, Christopher Stevens and Atsuko Hirose, and the whole team of the Asian Development Bank that has been doing this fantastic work, not just for the region, as I said, but for the whole planet. The topic of this panel is national and transboundary environmental challenge. Of course, we could spend more than 10 minutes discussing the international and the domestic aspects, the challenge of protecting the environment, but I only have 10 minutes. And I am sure that my colleagues, especially Professor Ben Boer, that knows the region very, very well, especially the whole Mekong region, will be able to fill not only the gaps in my talk, but also bring his expertise in this area that is very vast. I would like just to emphasize a few points, playing with the notion that we are national judges, but environmental problems are not national many times. I begin saying that nature does not respect international, judicial, or administrative boundaries. This is very obvious. Even in a large country like Brazil, or the United States, or China, or India, we can't say that we national judges deal only with issues which come up from causes that are located in our countries. And this, of course, applies to every country, every nation in the world. We could begin with air. There is nothing that is more volatile and moves than air. But also water. Often the headwaters of a major river basin is located not in one country other than ours, but in several other countries other than the one where we live and we work. Think in terms of wildlife. They migrate. They move across international boundaries, especially when we have shared biomes like the Amazon. But also even flora. If we deal with flora in a particular biome that is split among different countries, we will not go very far if we address the issues, for example, of deforestation in just one of those countries, because we have to protect the whole biome. But as you know, we judges are creatures of boundaries, especially because we work under the umbrella of something that we call jurisdiction. So it's my jurisdiction, and I can't do much beyond my jurisdiction, even in a single country. For many years, the Asian Development Bank has been working in making sure that the countries in the region, the judges in particular, have clear knowledge of the legal framework, the national framework, also the international, but also that they have clear notion of their responsibilities within their own jurisdictions. This is a work that is now giving fruits all over the region. I believe with this program, ADB is taking this work one step beyond what it has been doing, because it's now addressing not just judges working in their own national jurisdiction, but trying to look at environmental issues as regional, or in some cases, planetary environmental problems. So here we have ADB progressing, trying to engage judges and make judges look beyond their own boundaries or the boundaries of their national countries. But here as well, when we look beyond the boundaries of our countries, we are also looking something more holistic, a whole biome integrated and seen as part of something much broader. What are the problems that we national judges face in dealing with those transboundary issues? I would like to raise just a couple of them. Well, first of all, as I said, we are national judges. So we don't have jurisdiction beyond our national borders. Second, we as national judges tend to use very little the international framework. The agreements, for example, the Biodiversity Convention is rarely cited by us because we tend to rely on the constitutional provisions, the legislation, the administrative rules that are in place in our own jurisdiction. So national judges, national legislation. And the international texts that we cite more often are in fact non-binding. For example, the Rio Declaration, even the Stockholm Declaration from 1972, or the preamble of the Biodiversity Convention, those are texts that we, in a manner to strengthen the arguments of our judicial decision-making, we bring into the judgments that we make. We also lack the financial and the human resources to work beyond our national boundaries. And this is a major problem. And I'm not even speaking in terms of linguistic issues. In Latin America, for example, we speak Spanish and Portuguese in my country, Brazil, but they are very, very similar. So we don't face this problem that other regions do, languages that are completely different. So it's another order of problem. But I have to say in conclusion that in spite of all those difficulties, we have to understand that we are more and more what I call planetary judges. So even if we are bound by our jurisdictions, even if we have to work mainly, not exclusively, but mainly with our national legal regimes, we have to take into account what is going on beyond our borders. And this is a fact of life, and we judges cannot run away from this. The question then is, how can we overcome those challenges that I have just mentioned some of them? I would suggest a few possibilities. One, there is the need to integrate as much as possible to harmonize regionally the legal framework. This is a major task. For example, in the Amazon region, we have 6.7 million square kilometers, over 50% in Brazil, but the rest split among several countries. It's not easy to harmonize the flora or the wildlife legislation in those countries, but we have to, because otherwise the biome will be more protected in one country and less protected in another country, or with more potential for compliance and enforcement in one country and less potential and instruments for compliance and enforcement in another one. We also need to do capacity building collectively beyond the national boundaries. You are very lucky because you have the Asian Development Bank as a strong institution assisting in this effort. Other regions of the world don't have anything similar to that. So here you're already doing something that we are struggling to do in Africa, even in Europe, in Latin America. Finally, we need also to share legal scholarship and case law, our jurisprudence. I know that my dear colleague and friend, Justice Takdi Ramadi from Indonesia is there. And Indonesia and Brazil, we are in the process of developing judicial cooperation. And in one of the visits that I made to the Supreme Court of Indonesia, I mentioned to my colleagues and to the Chief Justice that we in Brazil were working, and this is now reflected in our jurisprudence, with the principle of in dubio pro natura. In case of doubt, rule for nature. And to my surprise, in my most recent visit to Indonesia, he mentioned to me that the Supreme Court had a judgment in which it adopted such a concept, such a principle. So imagine what can be achieved in a single region if we work together in terms of collecting, publishing the jurisprudence of the different countries, and especially in a language that is understood by, or at least with summaries that are understood by most of the judges. It's a gigantic task, no doubt about it. But it's something that we judges are not afraid of. We are judges because we are not afraid of challenge. This is clear to all of us. If you are afraid of challenge, you should not be a judge. You should select another profession, and because being a judge requires facing unknown territories, navigating in waters that have not been navigated before. And we do all this with a lot of optimism because we believe that we judges can make a difference at the end of the day. The end of the day, and hopefully not the end of the planet. So again, congratulations to all of you, to the organizers, but also to the extraordinary participants, judges, my colleagues from the region.